we are gathered here today to talk about a little bit on Jesus and his teachings. The title today is Living the Teachings of Christ. And the teachings of Christ, of course, they are the teachings of all the great masters. It's not anything separate. And our Guru, as we very well know, one of his main missions was to show the unity, the underlying unity between the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Christ, especially in the New Testament. So for us Kriya Yogis, it's good also to tune in to Christ, to Jesus Christ, which oftentimes is forgotten here in India. In the West maybe is much less so, because of course it's a part of people's reality much more, but here in India it doesn't happen so often. So it's good that at least during this time of Christmas, when Easter comes, that we try our best to tune in to that consciousness, because that consciousness is really the consciousness like our masters. In fact, Swami Kriyananda, he could not believe how similar was the consciousness, even the personality of Christ and that one of Yogananda, to the point that he believed that maybe Yogananda ji was Jesus Christ himself. And of course, that's a big statement to say, but nevertheless, he is one of a line of gurus. And even though, yes, he is not directly involved with the teaching of Kriya Yoga, in the sense like Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Yukteswarji, and of course Yogananda ji are, but even if we do the Festival of Light today, you will hear that Christ and Babaji, this is what our master told us, are working together, one in body, one without the body, to plan the salvation of this world. That Christ is taking more care of the West, as Babaji is taking more care of the East. So these two masters are in constant communion, Yogananda ji said, to work the salvation of this entire world. Obviously, again, these are things we have to take on faith, because it's not something that I can say that I have seen them or I have been in that meeting or anything like that. But nevertheless, our Guru said so, so we believe it to be so. So today we are going to go, there's this beautiful little book that if you come for Christmas you will get a copy, called the Beatitudes. Now I just want to give a little bit of background about this, because when talking about the life of Christ and many episodes, there are so many things. I believe last year we focused more on the birth of Christ, so we thought we'll do something a little different this time. That in the Gita it says that when virtue declines and vice is in the ascent, when evil is growing, I myself incarnate as an avatar to bring back righteousness in this world, basically, paraphrasing of course. And so it is that whenever the dark ages come, humanity needs it the most, the masters incarnate as avatars to help guide humanity spiritually, especially those who are ready, but sometimes even in very direct physical ways as well, not just spiritually. That's a topic perhaps for another time. But we have to understand that Jesus Christ, Yogananda ji said, he came because the people of Israel, which was not the country at that time, but the people were ready for something. They were crying for a savior. They were actually, physically, they were conquered by the Romans, so they wanted a savior in that way, but also spiritually they were ready for their next step in the evolution. Until that point, they were following the teachings of Moses, or I should not say the teachings, but they were Moses. I don't know how many of you know, Yogananda ji said he was a great master also, and he gave what is called the 10 Commandments. You probably have heard of the 10 Commandments, which sometimes we correlate them to the 10 yamas and niyamas, 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. And the people were really living by the law, very intellectually trying to follow spiritual law, so to say, or the law that was also applied in day-to-day life of what was given to them. But they were ready for something else. So Jesus Christ was incarnated not only for people to try to follow the law and try to, use the brain too much and try to rationalize, but to live the spirit of the law. What is the spirit behind these commandments? What is the spirit which one should have in order to find salvation? And that's why he was not very well received by the priests and all that of his time, because he was telling them that how to follow the law more through the heart, not just through the mind rationalizing everything. One of the famous teachings that you will hear, that there is this concept of Sabbath, that Sabbath is a day of the week that you are not supposed to work at all. And I believe it's still taken to the extreme that, you cannot do really anything that is considered work. Sometimes things like, I don't know if this is true or not, but you will use the elevator instead of the stairs, for example, because some people take it to that extreme, that you should not do any work. And Jesus Christ came with this famous saying, Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, which of course in the autobiography of a yogi, we hear Babaji paraphrasing that to Lahiri Mahashaya as well, meaning that, if something happens during the Sabbath day that requires your attention, your care, your work, of course you should go ahead and do it. It's not a law that was made just like that to rule you in that particular way. You had to go behind the spirit. The spirit of Sabbath was that one should actually spend one day of the week dedicated only to God. Not just that you should not work, that you should dedicate completely everything to God. And that's something that Master will always recommend, to use the true Sabbath. So anyway, these Beatitudes is a part of what is called the Sermon on the Mount. That it was towards the beginning of Jesus' mission that he gathered his disciples from the multitudes, and he took it up on a mountain, and he gave these teachings that really are in a way the essence of a lot of what he taught, because it's again, what kind of spiritual attitudes should we have to find God? And we are going to take just a few of them. There's 9, but we're going to take 2 or 3 or so. So I want to read, this is all in the Bible, but this is not the Bible, a little bit of so that's the context, and this is what it is written. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth, and he taught them, saying, and you will recognize these words because we just sang them. Blessed are the pure in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you, and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they shall the prophets which were before you. So these are the 9 Beatitudes. And in this little booklet, Swamiji, this is written by Swamiji with Master's interpretation. He has the Beatitude and a little bit of an explanation, very, very short. So we are going to read that. I will read the number 2, which is, Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And Swamiji says, Blessed are they who mourn the seeming absence of God. Them will he comfort with his love. And blessed are they who mourn. We mourn usually when we lose something, usually when we lose someone, isn't it so? Sometimes people mourn a lot because they lose something. They lose their car or their job or their house, or even sometimes they lose a book or they lose something and oh no, and they start mourning and abasing themselves and going into all that. But obviously this is not what it is. As Swamiji says very rightly here, the seeming absence of God. Because all of us, if we are devotees, we have come to that point that we mourn for something higher that we know this plane cannot give us. It is a very important step on the spiritual path to mourn for God, because it means, even though, yes, it is a delusion that we don't have God because He's already within us, that's why it's the seeming absence of God, nevertheless, we are not at that step yet. So it happens that all of us at some point we realize that the material world, it has not what we want, and we tend to look for something higher. And maybe we get a little experience of something higher that comes in meditation, comes in a quiet place, whatever it may be. And then we start to long for that more. And we start to crave that more. And it happens to all of us, even though we are already on the path, that sometimes it happens that we go astray. Perhaps for a few days you were not able to meditate or meditate very much. Or you do your energization exercises, or you were too distracted in other things. And that memory of wanting to meditate, wanting to feel peace, wanting to feel joy, wanting to feel divine love, it will come to you again. And you will again long for that. And that longing is very important, because it is through the longing that then we will actually figure out how to get it back. Isn't it so? So it is that even though we don't have to wait, we should never wait till we haven't meditated or whatever to have that longing. No, that's the wrong way to do it, but at least it will come to bring us back. What he's saying here is that we should develop that longing. We should develop more and more that desire for God, so that then we will be rewarded, we will be comforted with His love. So Jesus is saying here that one of the most important things that we have to do is develop longing for God. Through that longing is that we then will take all the steps necessary to satisfy, to be comforted by God Himself, and He will come to us when we do that. And I will just go very quickly through one of the ones that Swamiji Master will quote the most. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And Swamiji says, blessed are they whose self-offering to God is effortless and complete, secure in the knowledge that all other desires are foreign to the soul. In the purity of their knowing, they shall see God. And again, what is Christ saying here? The purity of heart, which again, He was coming to bring a spirit, not just law, not just rules and all these things that were already there. He's saying that we need to purify our hearts, and many times we wonder why in our meditation we don't feel anything, or in our day-to-day. It's because we haven't purified our hearts in order to experience that. What is to see God? Yes, there is experience of seeing God in the form of the light, perhaps the Guru, whatever it may be, but it's to experience God as well in any of the divine qualities that we talk about when we talk about meditation. And you will see that these experiences will only come when you are calm, and when your heart is calm, and when you attain, even in one meditation, a little time, a little hint of purity, of calmness of heart, then the things will come to you. If not, they will be just hidden behind our restlessness. And that most of that restlessness comes through the desires of the heart. And that's what Jesus Christ and Swamiji and Master are telling us here. We have to purify our hearts from desires. Then we will have that experience of the divine. There was a story of I think it was in one of the Christmas meditations, like we're going to have next Sunday, that Master was meditating and Divine Mother came to him. And everybody could hear Master say, "Oh, Mother, how beautiful you are, how beautiful you are," and communing with the Divine Mother even like that. And then at some point he said, "Mother, don't go. What is that? You are saying that the material desires of the people here are driving you away? Oh, please, don't go. And then she went away. But even in that congregation of Kriya Yogis and all, the material desires of each one of them, and each one of us, let's be honest, was driving Divine Mother away even from the vision that Master had. So that is what we had to do. We had to more and more develop that longing for God, that in itself will help us purify our hearts. And of course, Kriya and all our techniques help us to purify our hearts so that we can have that experience of God. Now with that, I'll invite Shamini to.
And good morning, everybody, from my side as well. So I'll just add a little bit about, again, this time of Christ and just what we can do. Actually, it's really very interesting. I don't know if any of you have tried to read the Bible or tried to study any of the teachings of Christ. But it really can just go over your head, no? Because the language is very old and it's just like, what does this even mean? It's like almost like a riddle, because he would use a lot of references from those times, about sheep and fish and, things which the common people could understand and relate to. But it's so interesting because if you actually read Master's teachings on Christ, you actually get it. And then what we get is also that he came to teach us Christ's Spirit, kind of to give us the Spirit. Then all the teachings make sense, like even what the two that Bharat explained, the pure in heart for they shall see God, and the whatever else that he did, but whatever we are singing, even, and when it was really sweet to hear all of you sing actually, and just we get to understand, oh yes, this is also a part of Master's teachings. Open the heart, have a pure heart. Oh, think of others, have compassion for others, share healing prayers with others. Now, these are part of Christ's teachings, and one that I want to talk about is the one on the peacemaker. So the quality again, aspect of peace. And when we think in a way, like when we all come for level 1, when we come to learn Hong So, the first thing we tell for Master's teachings is that he shared there are 8 aspects of God, right? We all are familiar with that. And he says, and you can experience them now. You don't say, oh, maybe in the future. He says, do right now Hong So and feel that peace in yourself. And so one thing he says is peace is the more accessible quality for the devotee, no matter how restless we've all been before we started meditating, and this world is constantly like, here it's a lot of fun in the temple, you can constantly feel like there's construction here, construction there, there's the guy selling the eggs going and then the guy with the cow comes with his cow, and it's just like all sides there's like a test of your peace, and then you're sitting here saying I am peace, and and it's like Master can in that moment say, what happened to your peace? I thought you were feeling peace. So it becomes a very good test for us in this marketplace, in this crazy world which is always pulling us in all directions, to just really practice our peace, as a living expression. So there's these, some lovely stories of saints and very saintly people. Okay, so like I've heard like at least 2-3 in the last year. So this last year of 2024, a little bit of my resolution was to be peaceful and try to tune in more to the aspect of peace. So I was very interested. So every time something came up about peace, it would catch my attention, and I was really trying to practice. So there's this very beautiful saint master called Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist master. He passed away just a few years ago. And he really was, a very saintly, and he brought the aspect of being a peacemaker. And one of the things he said, and also there's another very high Ananda devotee, very deep soul, who shared the same thing, that before they came on spiritual path, they were actually, peace fighters, like you go in those protests and you fight for peace, And so you're there and you're protesting and we need peace. And at some point, that's what led them to the spiritual path, because they looked inside themselves. And the question came, when I'm fighting so much for peace, how come I'm not feeling peaceful? How come I'm feeling angry about peace? So that's the problem with when we outwardly try to fix, like, oh, this person and you should, then we start getting more and more upset, and we've kind of contradicted ourselves here. And so they realized, that's when their search began, that I'm not actually being peaceful. Why am I fighting for peace? I should be peace. And that's something that Master and Swamiji and Christ, they tell us, is if you want to bring peace, be peace yourself first. No? If you want to bring joy, be joy. If you want to bring love, be love first. Feel that love here. And then wherever you go, automatically we'll be able to share that and bring that very strongly. No? Our vibration will bring that. There are these stories of, like Swamiji used to talk the story of Gandhiji, that he would walk into these meetings, where people would be all political and very like this in the room. And he would just walk in and everybody would become quiet because he was coming with peace. And they could feel that peace in the room. No? There's another devotee in Ananda who lives in the village, and Naya Swami Jaya's wife, if you all know Naya Swami Jaya. And she started at some point working just half an hour away from the community. They needed money, so she had a day job there. At some point, all those people started to realize that she is actually very valuable, because the moment she would walk into the office, this energy of calmness, of peace would come. So everybody would be just, and she would have come from a nice sadhana, from meditation, living in the community. She would walk into that office and just, the whole magnetism was peace. So they were being peace, instead of talking about peace. So that's one way also that we can feel, the teachings of the masters of Christ. Even if you need to be strong with somebody, with some situation, even if you need to be strong with yourself, you can do it with peace. Don't just make sure that our peace is not disrupted, in the process. We have that nice story of Master where he was scolding that devotee, remember? And he was like very stern and shouting at her here because she had done something wrong. And then he would turn and walk away, and he winked at this some devotee sitting here. And then he would go here and, you should really just... And then he would walk here and he would just wink. And he was demonstrating. He was not touched here. You have to do, sometimes you have to be strong, sometimes you have to be. But inside, we can be these qualities. So that's a little bit of the spirit of Christ. And we want to invite you to offer to all of you the song we sang and whatever of the Beatitudes. They're just 9. We are probably going to find a way to get these commentaries to you. So let's keep these with us and try to see if we can tune into some aspect of the Beatitudes during this time. This time of Christ is such it's actually a force, Like one thing that Naya Swami Asha explained, and I want to leave us with this thought, that, at this time the baby Christ comes, is born. Like in Janmashtami, the baby Krishna comes and he's born, and it comes into the homes and it opens the heart in a different way. When a baby is there, it's just pure, it's, all the love that comes out is very pure. And the same for the West, when baby Christ comes, onto the altar. It opens the heart in a very beautiful way. But also it's a real force that is born into this planet. And that's why Master emphasized so much the 8-hour meditation, which we'll have next Sunday right here. All of you have to come, even for little time, if you can't come for full time. But we come and we try to connect to the Spirit of Christ inside our hearts. And it is a palpable feeling when all of us are here together. For all of us who've done this for a few years, we know the power of when we're there together. Christ also said this, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am. 2 or more. So we are more than 2, which means he has to come. And we just put our devotion, our yearning, we call to him, and we can really feel the blessings inside ourselves. And Master gave us this blessing of being able to feel the Spirit of Christ being born here. We don't have to think, we don't have to try to understand those words in the Bible, we can just feel it. And that's the most blessed time of the Christmas time. So we invite you all, tune into some of these, try to feel these qualities that Christ is even talking, which is very related to our path. And try to share that, be a force of peace in this world, be a force of love, but with their love, with the love of Christ, with the love of Guru. And in the end, that starts to transform us, as you all have already been seeing very strongly. It starts to change us because we're sharing their light. So let's keep Christ with us in our hearts. Om Guru.